you about why do you think Giannis Antetokounmpo is better than Nikola Jokic?
Ooh, you gonna put it in a hot seat like that? Oh man. For the simple fact, what you mean, like better than him? What do you mean, like
You
in
you have
price?
you have Giannis number one. You say Giannis is the best player in the world. What makes Giannis the best player in the world over Nikola Jokic?
Mm, like the best player in the world, like that. That's like there's no. How can I say this shit, bro? This that's a tough one. I ain't gonna lie, but
It
the
is.
reason for me it's just the body work. For one, people say that Joel Embiid deserved to win MVP over Jokic this
Hmm.
season, or he was the closest to him in terms of winning MVP. I don't think that. You know what I told you? I told you Giannis was the closest, if anything. Even though I thought Jokic was by not by far, but he was the winner. He was definitely the winner of MVP. He definitely deserved it. But I think Giannis was closer to Jokic in that MVP race than Joel Embiid was, based off of the simple fact of the MVP is judged already in a very unique way. It's no one thing you could take and say, oh, this is why they picked him as MVP. It's all over the place as of recently. It's all over the place. But we all know what rules the day when it comes to that voting and what metric they use to vote the MVP. Advanced stats is one of those things. Where your team is, where's your team success, excuse me, as far as seeding, that's another one. And are you the best on that team?
Yeah.
Right? Those are the criterias that are looked at more than others for sure. And we have had examples of MVPs winning that were in the fifth, sixth seed, but that's a rarity. You know
Very,
that
very, yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
rarity. So
Hmm.
we all know. I think these two they kill advanced stats. They kill them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Jokic, he wasn't by far better than Giannis, and and I'm not gonna go through the advanced stats. Me and you know this for sure, but we ain't gonna go through because we got a lot of other things to cover. But advanced stats, these two dominate advanced stats for sure. And because of that, I think Jokic wasn't far ahead of the curve in Giannis in advanced stats, right?
Hmm.
And when you take it to the fact that even though it's all circumstance, Giannis didn't have his second best player, and he took the conference champions to 7 games. That's something you can't ignore. He performed well. He didn't perform crazy. We
You
know he
know,
had his guy.
not to cut you off, but even though I do think, um, you know, sorry, Jokic is the best player in the world. Even though I do think that, I agree with that a lot because they use that metric for Kevin Durant. He took the NBA champions to 7 games and should have won or whatever they say. And they called him the best player in the world for doing what he did. So I fully agree having them 40-point games. I believe 2 40-point games he had in that series, and Giannis as well had 2 40-point games in that series. So I understand 100%. So what you're talking about, you can go ahead.
Right, right. And I know in Jokic, he deserves all the credit in the world. Like what he did with that team, like his second best player was Aaron Gordon. Nobody's calling Aaron Gordon no out of this world player. He averaged what 15 points, I think, the number on his back, bro. So and we could go look it up. It's somewhere around there. He didn't average nothing crazy. That's the second
Yeah,
best player. He made sure the cohesiveness of that team was able to get them at least into the playoffs. And that team that team without Jokic is not that good, bro. We could go through we could go through his value of replacement out of this world, probably one of the highest of all time for the season. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's just crazy. His PR, all of that, it just through the roof, bro, because of what he was able to do to get that team to where they were. What were
yeah,
they, the fifth or sixth seed, bro? I can't take that away from him at all, bro. Like that's really my definition of an MVP right there. That
yeah.
exactly what he did. Like really making your teammates better just so y'all can win. That's impressive. I've never seen that done. I've never seen it done to that magnitude. I'm sorry, bro. We could say LeBron 2018, but his team is way better than what Jokic had. Way better,
Yeah.
bro. I'm sorry. But back to Giannis and Jokic. I just think Giannis is right now. I think he's on another level. Even though they're both back-to-back MVPs. I think if it comes to a point, and this is just me being honest, right? I think it comes to a point like if Jokic does have his two best players, he does have if he does have MPJ and Jamal Murray, I don't think they win the championship. I
So
don't think.
you think it's more of a asserted dominance for Giannis. You think
Right.
because
And
how
right.
and
And I think we've seen Giannis, we've seen him get stopped, and we've seen him learn from that and come back and able to win a championship. We haven't seen that from Jokic. Draymond Green gave him issues. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Draymond Green definitely gave him issues. I think I'm looking at it from an all around standpoint. For the regular season, he's great. He did come in, he did win one game against the Warriors in the playoffs. Regular season, he was great. But I'm looking at it in its totality. Giannis Antetokounmpo, if I have to choose between one player, he already showed me what he did in the regular season and in the playoffs. He's already won the championship, so I gotta go with Giannis based off of that. I have to, if that makes sense.
Um, I get it, and I don't. You know, I really do get it, but for me, it's the now this is like this doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, he's the best player, because there's a lot of guys who are valuable, but the way his value is to a team is just absurd, and that's why I have Jokic as at the number one, because like he's so valuable. I've never seen a player so valuable to a team, and it obviously shows because of the advanced stats, the VORP, the win shares. He has 15 win shares this year, which is very high. Um, like he's just so valuable, and he's such a great player. And he can do damn near everything on the court. He went out, you said Giannis goes out, and when he fails, he goes back and improve. And that's Jokic somewhat sort of did that, just not in the championship way. He went out, he knows that he's not the best defender. He went out there and improved on defense a lot. And he became like one of the defensive rating leaders. He went out there and averaged a steal, almost two steals and and a block, and he went out and did a lot of things just to improve himself on the defensive end, and he's becoming more so complete as a player, and he's going out there and killing himself, 40 minutes a game, and his teammates is not even helping that much, and then the teammates that he got are somewhat injury prone and barely could even stay active, and which are two talented players, Jamal Murray and MPJ. No, not to knock off their talent, very talented. MPJ, some refer to him as a baby KD. He's one of the most efficient scorers of all time. Jamal Murray, very athletic, can shoot the three ball at a high level, but the problem for them is, and when they actually did have a chance to win, Jokic wasn't there yet, so and he still performed well, but MPJ wasn't there yet. But Jamal Murray and Jokic were still there, and they just just couldn't beat the LA Lakers, and I don't put that past them. But he came back next year, and he did his best, even against Dame and them boys. He got them out of there, but ends up losing in the second round. But to answer the question on basically why I just have him up there is, like I said, is his value to a team. Um, the fact that he played his heart out this playoffs, and yeah, Draymond definitely gave him problems. I'm a Warriors fan. I watched all five of those games, and I seen how hard Draymond, put the defense on him, and he struggled a lot. He Draymond got the game winning stop on him. That's a little embarrassing because of the simple fact that he's 7 feet and Draymond 6'7", and on top of that, how good Jokic is, and then how Draymond is a very good defender, but he's not the Draymond from 7 years ago, 5 years, 6 years ago. He's definitely not him. But this is the MVP he stopped, so it's like, like this puts a lot on him. But he did average 31 this playoff, so I can't take that from him off like almost 58 field goals. So I can't take that from him, and still got 13 boards. And it was one game, I believe he had like 18 boards with 30 points one game, if I'm not mistaken. So I just think he's done more with less. Well, man, he's shown personal, like he's shown to be better as a personal player than Giannis, in my opinion. Um, it's really so tough. It's really a tough debate to pick between either one. Sometimes I go 1A 1B, but it's
You
tough.
get
But
what you get.
I just know I gotta go Giannis because of his how valuable he is. I mean, sorry, Jokic, because of how
See,
valuable
you'll
he is.
make that mistake easily with them two. You would make that mistake easily, getting caught up like that. But
Hmm.
most definitely, I got that's my reasoning for having Giannis. You really can't go wrong. But I think Giannis, like I said, more proven.
Which is understandable.
Yeah,
It,
it's
it
just
is.
it's like, I don't want to say by default, but it's like, if I could give Jokic more credit than I would, but it's like almost like default. Like we've seen Giannis go to the promised land and bring that shit home. So that's just what I'm saying. Like and that's why I think right now he's over him and until otherwise. And as long as Giannis keeps up what he's doing, it's gonna be hard for me to argue Jokic over him until Jokic take that next step. He hasn't
Yeah.
yet, so that's just almost by default. But that may be unfair, but that's just how I'm looking at it. That's just my.
I feel like Celtics definitely gave Giannis problems too because even though he shot 45 from the field, this guy takes twos mostly all game. So I feel like that's not as efficient. If we see Steph Curry shoot 45 or Klay Thompson or a shooter like shoot 45% from the field or Kyrie Irving, we're like, okay, that's not bad. But a guy who takes twos predominantly all game, it's like it's a little shaky. And they did hold Giannis to one game where he had like 20 points off like 30 something field goal. I remember watching. I was like, damn, like the Celtics defense really is really really tough. So if you throw the Draymond thing on Jokic, I got to throw that in there too.
That's true.
Them guys, they contained Giannis, and we don't see that often because we seen what he did in the finals and how he dominated the Suns, having 3 40-point games back to back to back. Then he goes out there and have 50.
Right, but
Well,
I think
two back to back 40 then 50.
but also if we still gonna be also I think like because of Giannis having like and this I think this trend towards them making their players better. And my stance on what Giannis is to Curry is the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Curry draws defenders to the 3-point line. Giannis draws them away from it, opening up opportunities, right? So I think he did a lot of that in this series, and his passing out of double teams, it really opened up the floor for his teammates. You get me? I think his presence on the floor alone makes his teammates better because he gets to open up a lot of opportunities for those guys. You feel me? And in that series, I seen a lot of that. Of him getting his teammates involved. I don't know how many assists he averaged. Let me go see right now. Let me see.
Probably about 6, 7.
Yeah, I think he averaged a considerable amount in that series. But that's gonna take long. We just forget about that. But I've definitely seen him getting his teammates involved and things like that. And Giannis's impact is not only just on the offensive end, it's on the defensive end as
Yeah.
well. And Giannis is a former defensive player of the year. So,
Yeah.
and in terms of that whole series, it was a chess match, really. It went 7 games, and he didn't have his second best player. You get what I'm saying? It went
Yeah.
7 games, and I think partly because of that, because Drew Holiday was the second best player, and
he underperformed.
Right. So
19 points off 37 field goal, which is terrible.
Right. So we see Giannis had to, he had to on some nights he had to, carry the load for him as well, and he already playing both sides, and it still went 7 games. And I'm looking at it from that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
He shot 45% from the field, which may not be good for his size and what we are used to seeing him do, but it's not bad at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not bad at the same time. So I'm looking at it like that, looking at how handicapped he was in the series, and we know Jokic didn't have, nowhere near what Giannis had, even without Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
You feel me? So it's just hard. It's just a hard debate, really. It really is. But I got Giannis. I'm going with Giannis.
All right.